Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Vital Wisdom with me, Dr. Eli Camp. I have a special guest today, Dr. Shawna Eischens, and she's going to tell you all about herself in just a minute. I want to remind everybody that Vital Wisdom is about this idea that the body is able to heal itself. The human body, an organism like all organisms on this planet, was created, built, put together, however you think of life, with this superpower. I think of it as a superpower. We are, when we have what we need to thrive and we're not poisoning ourselves and we support that innate healing ability, the body can heal itself. It's the most amazing thing. I've talked about lots of examples over this past year. And it's just, I keep saying it. I keep saying it, and I get so many people that write in and email and text, and they may have seen 10 shows, and all of a sudden they'll listen to an episode and they'll say, "Oh my gosh, I just got it. I just got what you were talking about." And I remember the moment I first understood that there was a whole other paradigm of understanding health and illness and how a human thrives, and I can't ever go back to that other world now that I'm in the world that I'm in. So thank you so much for being here, Dr. Eischens. And we'd all love to hear a little bit about you and tell us.
Well, likewise, Eli, it was like this innate intelligence, even before we knew about the innate intelligence, right? So I feel like, and I won't speak for you, but I know for me, even as a kiddo, my brain was still trying to figure out like, why? Why? And I was never into medication, never wanted to suppress symptoms, but I had no clue. I grew up in Minnesota, we were a little behind. And so naturopathic medicine, no clue. And then it wasn't until I heard about it from a friend and this light bulb went on. And when I went to school, I was still clueless because I was thinking probably along the lines of green allopathy, which I'm not sure if your guests have gotten familiar with, but basically taking something natural and, oh, heaven forbid we use anything pharmaceutical, but it's natural. So then it's good and okay. But the mentality was still the same, cover up symptoms, because I didn't know. And then, we had similar training along the way, and finally that light bulb went on. And so after that light bulb went on, like you said, there is no going back. And so as far as what we'll talk about today and how I have found myself kind of naturally gravitate towards this niche, it was my personal journey. And I couldn't deny things. And I had a lot of issues. I still have plenty of issues, but I had a ton of issues, less physical, more mental, emotional. And I had suppressed those issues very well. I did a really good job of numbing, distracting, finding vices, running away, and then the body keeps the score. And the body held on to all of that. And then my third year of med school, it said, enough, woman. I cannot hold one more thing for you that you are suppressing. I am going to unleash the floodgates. And that's exactly what happened. And ironically, on my birthday, third year of med school, floodgates opened. I couldn't stop crying. And I said, oh crap, I have to do something. So that's what started this whole journey. And along the way, that intrinsic wisdom and innate wisdom was in there. But as far as what we'll talk a little bit more about today, we all have things we gravitate towards. And I never went to school thinking, I'm going to focus on mental health and neurological things. Nope. It just found me, and we all have our own journey. So that's a little background.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And you have a practice in Scottsdale?
Yes, Scottsdale, Arizona.
And can people come see you, or are you mostly telehealth?
I love in person. So I'm
Okay.
mostly in person. There's things
Okay.
we can do virtually, and I have patients all over, but my heart is in person
There's nothing
for
quite like
sure.
it to
Nothing
have
like
that
it.
person right in your sphere. Well,
Yes.
I don't know if you remember this or not, but I've known, I knew who you were, and I knew your name, and I knew stuff, right, about you just in general, because we're a very small profession.
Right.
But I have to tell you, when you caught my attention was probably 12 years ago, roughly. And I had done a post and I was talking about trauma. And I made the comment that as I've gone through practice, I'm realizing that the majority of illness that I see or had seen up to that point had some root in trauma, childhood trauma, trauma as an adult, a combination of trauma starting in childhood and continuing into adulthood. And you made a comment, and I don't remember verbatim what you said, but it was agreeing with me and then adding some of your thoughts to it. And I can remember thinking, holy cow, I have got to hang out with this stuff
Oh,
more. But that's when you came on my radar as a practitioner um, who thought similarly to me in the impact that trauma has. And my specialty is homeopathy. My audience knows that. And in a classical homeopathic setting, I talk to people for hours and take a case that every single one, almost every single one. There's a few where it was just physical trauma, right? But
mhm.
almost everybody else, we start back at the beginning of time, and when they start talking, it's a clear that trauma has made such a significant impact on who they are as people, who they grow into, how they live life, and the symptoms of illness.
Right. And I just want to add a little clarification because I feel like people can kind of shut off or turn on when they hear the word trauma. It does not have to be rape, abuse, divorce, death. Like trauma can be Susie didn't sit with me at lunch in second grade and I felt like a loser. Like there's big T, little t. It's basically trauma is unprocessed emotion that gets stored. And so I just want to clarify, like when you're saying trauma, I think we're on the same page. Like
We are.
we all have junk in the trunk, issues in the tissues, and some of it is like big, big stuff that we all think of as big trauma, and others it's like, wow, that stayed with me, and I had no idea that that affected me so much.
Yes. Yes, I agree. And thank you for clarifying that. It's definitely not always what other people would look at and say, wow, how traumatic.
Right,
Sometimes I think people hear other people's stories and think, really, that bothered you?
right.
That's a deal for you? Well, and we're all different, right? We're so individualized. So, okay, well, tell us about your practice and what you do and how you work your magic.
So we're probably very similar that we're always looking for the root cause. We are taking the time. I call it laying out the puzzle pieces, figuring out what happened, when, why, how can I help you get back in balance? And so I don't know which one happened first. If people are coming to me because divine universe, energy, whatever you want to call it, is attracting those who need what I offer, or if it's that everyone needs this. I'm biased and I'm aware of that by now. So I'm not sure, but I just trust those who need us and we are a good match with find us. And so naturally over the years, sure, can I help people with PTSD and suicidal ideation and major trauma? Of course, but that's not necessarily the exact population who's coming to me. It is, I hate the word average or normal because what the heck is that? But it's people that you would think of, PTA, soccer moms, the person next to you at the gym. Like you wouldn't look at these people and think, oh, trauma, they've been in a psych ward and no, 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 no. We all have stuff. And so I would say 90% of my population are females. And then what I have found, because I'm always trying to find that root cause, is of course, we'll look at physical, we'll look at nutrition, toxicity, labs if indicated. But when we boil it down, we have to have things make sense. So I'll give you an example. Last night, I ended up making a house call because this patient was in crisis, like on the toilet, vomiting, diarrhea, major pain. She has had pancreatitis before, but yet in my brain, every question I asked, it didn't make sense. Like, this is not pancreatitis. This is not food poisoning. This is not acute illness. So I went over there and um, we uncovered some things and it was a lot of mental emotional stuff. And she went from severe 10 out of 10, like I need to go to the hospital pain, vomiting, diarrhea, to smiling, hugging me, talking, no little to no pain. And that was in less than an hour. and we did
Wow.
nothing like strictly physical. And so I just feel like when we use our brain and critically think, we're able to really dig down and find out what's missing here, what could be contributing. So I went on a tangent. I don't know if that answered
No,
your question, but
no, yeah, yeah, no. Okay, so what'd you do?
we did a technique called NET, or NeuroEmotional Technique, and it's one of the main techniques I use in practice because it helped me so much early on and still. And it's uncovering unprocessed emotion that's stored in the body. And for this particular patient, she is, and she's aware of it, and her husband shared with me, she is quote unquote a rescuer. Like she is a lover, very kind, tender heart, wants to help everyone all the time in every way. And it destroys her when people are struggling. And so when we talked, she said, well, all I had was slices of turkey. And then, boom, I ended up with these major symptoms. And she's not meat intolerant. She does fine with meat typically. She didn't eat anything that normally flares her. And so I said, what was happening around that time? And we dug a little deeper. And sure enough, it was a family event where she was taking on this burden of responsibility. And it was affecting her so greatly that it caused these intense physical symptoms.
Isn't
So
it
we did.
amazing?
It is. Yeah. And years
Um,
ago, like I just want to shout out to anybody who's listening going, BS, this is crazy. This is woo woo. I was there. I
mhm,
was so there. And everything with applied kinesiology, muscle testing, stuff stored in the body affecting you vomiting, having diarrhea and pain. Like, come on, that's physical. Let's be real.
mhm, mhm.
And so I've had to get out of my own way through my own experiences and still am blown away every day. Like, how the body's amazing. Like, how dare I ever doubt it and think I'm smarter than it? Like, that's so silly.
Mhm, mhm. It is hard to wrap our heads. Well, again, I think mainstream has conditioned us to believe something about the world that's not necessarily true. And when I say mainstream, I mean allopathy, which I think is necessary to save a life,
Mhm.
right? I think the allopaths have devised ways to keep a person alive when death is imminent, and I mean imminent, like within a few hours to within 24 hours. And so I never poo poo any branch of medicine,
Right.
but but I think that's what they excel at.
Hmm.
The- and not much else. And that's in my opinion, an IMO. In my opinion,
I'm
keeping
with you.
people right alive and truly realigning, readjusting, reestablishing health. They don't learn that in school. It's not taught in mainstream medical schools. Although, there's a shift that's been happening over the last 10 years in some schools where they're starting to talk about lifestyle and how you think and how you feel and things like that. So NET, I used to get that confused with NAET.
And NEAT. There's a
Yes,
lot.
yes, there are. Because I've had patients who had like seasonal allergies and went through, I think I meant, was it NAET? NAET.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yep.
to get rid of their allergies. So just tell us more. Tell us more about NET.
Sure. So it was developed, I almost said invented, but developed by a chiropractor over 30 years ago. And basically, it's gathering information from the body to decrease stress and reset the nervous system. So it's very hard to describe. I have live videos on YouTube and my website because it's so challenging to hear and not experience. But basically, we are checking in with the subconscious. So, for example, if I had you hold your arms straight and we did a muscle test and I had you say, my name is Eli, you would be strong. If I had you say, my name is George, you would be weak. So the theory is we cannot be congruent or hold strong when we are lying to our subconscious. Just like
Mm,
if we started laughing while we were carrying a couch down the stairs, we wouldn't be as strong.
right.
So similar theory. So we cannot fool our subconscious. So we can say, oh, I'm okay. I'm okay. Yeah, that doesn't bother me. It's fine. Let it go. And our subconscious is like, listen to me. It's not okay. It feels crappy.
Right.
So we can find any issue. You can say a statement like, I can be okay, even when I feel out of control. If somebody has a lot of issues with control, it could be, I have done everything for this knee pain, massage, chiropractic, topical. I've done all the things and I still have knee pain. Okay, touch your knee. Let's see if there's an emotional connection. Often there is. And then we are able to find the emotion, the stored emotion, the worst thing. So, for example, let's just make this up, shame. What's the worst thing when you feel bad about being out of control? Well, I feel like, what if something bad happens or what if I'm unsafe? Okay, so let's just say, let's find the original event where there was shame and you felt unsafe. Then we go back and find what age an event or feeling was applicable to that original event. And then the person clears it in a matter of seconds and it literally rewires the brain. I want to show you this cool, I think it's cool. I don't think you and I, well, I know you and I, to see results, we do not need double-blind placebo-controlled studies that
No,
were funded by a conflict of interest or
no.
not. But I think we can both appreciate research and
Yeah.
studies when we know it's going to provide more benefit than risk for the patient and address root cause. So this study I think is really cool. This study was done on people with cancer. They wrote down the worst part of their journey, just a paragraph. They read it back to them and they measured subjective and objective findings. So naturally talking about a stressor or a stressful event, blood pressure, perspiration, heart rate, how do you feel? Oh, I feel more anxious. I have this pit in my stomach. All going to change. Then they put them in, this is not too clear probably,
No, I can see.
but they put them in a functional MRI. Do you see the orangey reddish areas?
Yes.
That is the parahippocampal region lit up like a light bulb because of stress. Then
Wow.
they did NET about that stressful paragraph, and then they rechecked everything.
Wow. Look at that.
And so I always tell people, like, we can't wave a magic wand and make you forget about your cancer journey or that doctor walking in with the white coat and telling you that horrific diagnosis. That'd be really fun if you could just wipe it clean, but that's not possible. What we can do is reshift the nervous system and how you feel related to it. So it's like, okay, that was a really rough time, and it doesn't have to haunt me moving forward. Doesn't have to get stored and stuck in my body. So in a
Wow.
matter of minutes, we can literally shift the brain just like that. And then patients feel the number one word I hear them report, and I always smile because it still blows me away because it's not a loaded question. I literally say, like, how do you feel? Oh, good. Okay. Any other words you'd use to describe? I feel lighter. I feel more relaxed. I feel calm. And I just smile because nearly everyone says one of those words.
Mm-hmm.
Because literally it's like, ah, thank you for taking that layer off of me. I don't have to carry that suitcase around inside anymore.
Isn't our nervous system and neurological pathways fascinating? I mean, it is that how quickly and rapidly things can change when we assist the body in its efforts to heal itself.
Yes.
Yeah. Makes
And
me want
kind
to
of
fly
like,
out there and come sit in your office to talk to you for a day.
yes, it's so fun. And I almost equate it to a child. A child who just wakes up on the wrong side of the bed and they're throwing a temper tantrum and I don't want this food that you made and this and this. And instead of just whooping them and saying, shut your mouth, eat it, and just get your butt going, that probably isn't going to help too much. But
Right.
instead, sitting down and going, what's going on? Like,
Right.
where does it not feel good inside? What are you noticing right now? What feels icky?
Yeah.
And so I almost equate it to that of instead of telling the body to shut up, go sit in the corner, take this medication, CBD supplement, whatever, or go to talk therapy for 20 years. This is a fast, simple, effective way to go, okay, I'm listening. What do you have to say? What do you have to release? Okay, get it out. You'll feel better. So it's just really gentle and powerful.
I've often wondered a significant portion of my uh, patients, my practice. was made up of, so I'm very part-time right now, but when I was full-time, a significant portion of my patients were folks on the spectrum, and many of those people who reported 180-degree change in their children post vaccination.
Oh,
And
yes.
I have hundreds and hundreds of videos that parents brought to me and said, look, this was Monday and this is Wednesday and ever since Wednesday, right?
Yeah.
And I often wondered through the years if something like this could be beneficial for them, if the one of the major obstacles to working with someone on the spectrum is their ability to communicate.
Mhm.
And you mentioned just a minute ago muscle testing, but they have to be able to recognize, right? And be able to communicate. What do you think about that?
To an extent, yes. So, and that goes for all of us. Like, we don't want to do this when we're drunk on alcohol or high on something and the brain isn't um, quite registering properly. So, yes, does there have to be a certain amount of consciousness and communication skills? Absolutely. Although it wouldn't harm and there's a chance it could help, but I wouldn't feel good about, just going through the motions. But what we can do if somebody is unable or unwilling to do a muscle test, say hold their arm or something, we use a surrogate. So just like last night, she was
Oh,
in too much pain. She was lying on the couch in a depends, moaning in pain. Like, I'm not going to have her hold her arm out and focus on that too. So we used her husband's arm for her, and it
mm-hmm,
works just as well. So we can
mm-hmm,
do that with infants or people. I mean, I've worked on people who maybe they don't have their arms, or
mm-hmm.
maybe they're paralyzed, or there's a lot of different reasons. So that would be an option there.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I could have probably figured that out because I do some applied kinesiology. I took a course when we were in school called AKSOT, so Applied Kinesiology Sacro-Occipital Technique, and
Mhm.
it was a way to set like I want to say a scan, but a scan that we do with our hands, where we would run through very specific points on the body and test weak or strong, and then there's a physical, very gentle physical
Mhm.
adjustment that you can do and reset sort of the neuromuscular communication. And we would have to use surrogate sometimes. So
Mhm.
yeah, that makes sense to me. Do you do all the other stuff too?
Of course, Eli. We can't throw away the toolbox.
Right.
Yes, but I find that because this work is so powerful, and according to the therapists themselves who've done this training, they say it's like 10 years or more of talk therapy in each session because we're accessing the deep, 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 deep layers of subconscious, which is our autopilot system. So, what I have found is it's almost harder to tell, gosh, is the remedy working? Because they're doing so well, but is that because of this or this? I don't care. I just want them better. But I
Mm-hmm.
will say that yes, the other tools, we have lots of them. They're still in there, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't find the need to have as many appointments or do all the things. Very few supplements. Like most of my
Yeah.
patients are on so little, like 0 to 3 usually.
Yeah. Me too. Yeah.
But homeopathy, diet, toxicity, supporting the detox pathways, of course, we can't ignore that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I asked that because I know my patients and my audience would ask the same question, like, is
They're
there
so
other
wise.
stuff, right, that goes along with it? And like I've talked about on so many shows, we have to have that broad base of the pyramid established. Like humans thrive with the right nutrients and sun and
Mhm.
sleep and community and activity, and along with that comes, do are we taking in what our body needs for all its chemical reactions and like magnesium and like, but I like to get as much of that from food as I can.
For
Do
sure.
you look at food sensitivities, food allergies, things like that?
Food intolerance method is my go-to.
Okay, good, cool. Yeah, me too.
Yes. Yep. And what I've found with that is it's only N of one, but super cool, I think. This patient came to me years ago and she was following her sensitivities, avoiding them. She still had symptoms. I was at a different office with a different doctor, not the one you're familiar with, but and they did sensitivity panels. And so I told her, she came and said, I want to do yours, the intolerance. I said, nope, it's going to conflict, confuse, overwhelm, step on toes. Like, I wouldn't recommend it. And she said,
Right.
I really want to. I said, okay, I'm warning you. So, of course, it came back different. And I
Yeah.
said, avoid your intolerances. And eventually, like maybe not tomorrow, but very soon, start eating your sensitivities. And she did. She healed. Her symptoms went away. She was scared to add her sensitivities, but eventually she added them, still fine. She became a nurse, or she was in nursing school, and she came back years later and said, I love the data. I'm becoming a nurse. Let's rerun the sensitivity panel. I said, why? It's a waste of your money. You're doing great. You don't have your symptoms. You're following, avoiding your intolerances. Why? Because I like data and I just want to. Okay. So I ordered the kit. She did it. Clear. She was
Oh,
eating
wow.
everything but her intolerances and it was clear. So that showed me addressing the cause. If you avoid intolerances, we can get rid of leaky gut and sensitivities. So addressing the
Absolutely.
cause. Yeah,
Yeah, I have found that too. And I've
pretty
had lots
cool.
of patients do the same thing. They want to
Really
rerun the test so they can see in black and white what even though they feel great, they feel great.
interesting.
They want to see, they want to test to sort of reassure themselves that they are actually
Sure.
doing great. They just don't feel great. They're doing great.
Well, and I
Um,
think it's not good or bad, but I think that is definitely more of a conventional in how traditional society thinks. Like we have to see it on paper,
hmm
and there has to be something concrete to
hmm
show us that instead of just honoring, like, okay, my symptoms are gone. I feel
hmm
good. Yeah,
hmm
this is
Yeah.
good.
Yep. I have energy. I can make it through the day with plenty of energy. My thoughts are positive. My sleep is
Yes.
good. My
Skin.
self-talk, skin, hair, like all that is you're shining and vibrant
Yes.
and people's I agree with you. I think the message has always been, well, not always, but for at least the last 110, 120 years, is that the body's inherently broken in some way and it just
Hate that.
mysteriously breaks. And that couldn't be further from the truth unless it's an accident, right? You get in an accident and it I don't care how healthy you eat, your recovery will be better if you're a good, healthy eater, but an
The bone
accident,
broken.
right? You're broken,
Yeah.
you're broken. Um, so NET, and that doesn't really take any equipment.
No, nope. And I do another one called quantum neuro reset therapy, which also resets the brain, nervous system, applied kinesiology, stored emotion, but a little bit different way. And that I need a laser and glasses and tuning fork, and there's some other things
Now that
necessary.
sounds cool.
Yeah, it's
Now that the
wild.
other one isn't cool, but that sounds like Doctor Who cool.
Yeah. But NET, I mean, I have used it for somebody having a panic attack thinking they were dying near a waterfall in Hawaii. I've used it on a plane with somebody having a panic attack. I used it at this person's house and didn't have to bring anything. Like it's so accessible. But
Mm-hmm.
and there's lots of other things. Like I always like to give that caveat when I have these conversations. Like I am passionate. These two things changed my life, along with homeopathy. But there are a lot of things, and find something that works for you, whether it is tapping, EMDR, hypnosis, like meditation. There's so many subconscious things that work. I'm just partial to these because they changed my life and I see them work every day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there are. I think some of those therapies, though, I don't know that like hypnosis. I don't know what I think about that. I have had people, uh, like, what's the word? It's not hurt them, but confuse the healing journey in some way. And
Interesting.
could be the practitioner, right? Because not every plumber knows how to fix a pipe.
Mhm.
Same way with doctors. Not everyone uses the tools to their excellent, capacity.
Right.
Um, But I've had a few over the years who were doing pretty good. And for some reason, they became sort of fixated on wanting to use hypnosis therapy. And
Mhm.
it kind of, so what I don't know is if it did it muddy the waters for a little bit because it stirred stuff up. And it takes time for things to can take time for things to settle when you muddy up the water.
Mhm.
Or was it just not a good fit, that therapy for them at that time? So,
Or did it come more on their conscious radar and then they were perseverating about that? It's hard to say.
sure, sure. Brought it to the foreground. Well,
One more
that's,
thing that I don't know if this applies to people that you're discussing, but what I have found when the underlying theme is unworthiness,
mm,
healing can be a little tricky because
mm,
as they start to heal, it's almost an internal battle. So that could be another theory of a
mhm,
layer
mhm.
of, ooh, maybe this shifted something, but wait a minute, that's not comfortable and familiar, and I got to stay back here.
Right.
So who
Meaning
knows?
they just truly believe so deeply that they're unworthy that as they start to, as the body tries to feel worthy, there's a conflict. Is that?
Yes, as they start to heal, feel better overall, it's almost like, wait a minute, this is
Mm,
weird, and I don't think I deserve this. They don't say that consciously,
no.
but it's not on their awareness, but subconsciously wins the battle every time. So it's like, oh, well, I have to create something new. So if it's, that stirred up things and now I don't feel as well with it, like that sounds very, I'm not trying to blame anyone or anything, but I have seen
No.
that happen when you are addressing all the causes and they're healing, and then all of a sudden it's like, where is this coming from?
Hmm.
Or I have one patient right now, phobia is really easy to resolve. I've resolved all my phobias with NET and help many people. It's super fast and easy. And this patient had a phobia of flying. And we covered it. Like we hit every layer. And I'm so confident I would bet money, like you will be fine flying. Go fly. You're gonna be fine. But there is so much doubt in there. Like, but what if this? What if that? And so just the other day, trying to remember what words I used, it's possible that my body and I could actually overcome this phobia. Because even though the subconscious believes, yes, I'm safe, it's okay when I'm out of control, all this stuff, it's almost like she keeps going back to, but, and it went back to unworthiness.
Mm,
Just
interesting.
as when I go fly to see my family, which has always been very dramatic and traumatic for her, like her body is holding on to that. Like it has to be that way. It can't be smooth, low drama, uneventful. It has to be traumatic. So
Hmm.
it's shifting that too, because those I call them like cobwebs. They run pretty deep because we know things based on our experience, and then we continue to think that's true, and then we find things that prove that's true, and the circle continues.
I was going to ask you that actually. Do you run into this, like the self-talk people have told themselves for so long they don't even know they're doing it, right? It's a conversation they're having with themselves that developed from trauma or from unresolved issues. And they've said it for so long that even when you clear it from the subconscious, that's what it sounds to me like you're describing is this, they have to stop having that conversation, right? They have to allow for the conversation to change.
Yes, and that is where people have to be willing. So years ago, you've had these patients too, I'm sure, where the wife calls, wants the husband to get in. The
Oh,
husband
yes,
doesn't want to get in. The
yes,
wife does the consult. The wife fills out the paperwork. The husband doesn't want to be there.
yeah,
That I have learned, don't bother. Because why? Torture everyone involved. It's not fair.
yeah,
People
yeah,
have to
no,
want to change, want to heal, want to be there. So that's one thing I found. If let's just stereotype the mom brings the kiddo in. Kid doesn't want to be there, doesn't want to participate. I'm not going to hold my breath that there's going to be a whole lot of shift.
right.
And so I will be honest with people up front, straightforward about that. If somebody truly wants to change and we just have to untie those deep cobwebs, that's very different. They can absolutely change, and then they can bring it on their awareness of, oh, wow, I'm having those thoughts way less. And when I have them, I'm able to shift them easier without
Mhm,
shame or judgment.
mhm,
So we have to also want it. And then often in the first two sessions, one or the first or second session, I will check people's subconscious on I'm able to heal, I'm ready to heal, I'm willing to heal, I deserve to heal, to make sure their subconscious is on board. So I call it they can bike. Instead of biking uphill with a headwind, they can bike downhill with a tailwind. It's like, let's make it easier for you. You deserve that. Let's not struggle so much.
mhm, mhm. And do you find that things from eating disorders to, I mean, serious like rheumatoid arthritis, like, and everything in between can respond to this kind of therapy?
Yes, yes, and yes. Autoimmune issues, there's some great research showing that adverse childhood events contribute greatly. I have seen fibromyalgia resolve in one session. I'm not spreading that as typical, but I have seen it resolve in one session in front of my eyes from NET.
Wow.
I was in tears. We were all in tears.
Wow.
And yes, as you know, the longer somebody has something, the more complex, the more suppressed through steroids or medication it is, the longer it takes to heal. She had only been experiencing it for about a year, and she
Mm-hmm.
was not on steroids and DMARDs and all those other
Mm-hmm.
things.
Mm-hmm.
So that was like the best case scenario. But it's and that's a story if we want to go into that. But yes, yes, and yes. I haven't found anyone who it's not helpful for.
Well, you just said something that piqued my curiosity. So, I'm well versed in the physical effects of suppressing illness with substances like steroids. I just read the other day that they are one of the most prescribed pharmaceuticals. It just blows my mind. But okay, well, I don't want to go down that tangent. So I know physically what happens when we suppress symptoms, and then physically what happens as we start to go through the healing journey. I'm curious, what do you see? What do you see in regards to using NET when people have been on suppressive medications like that?
I don't find that it's an issue. What I guide them about is the more often we take steroids, it's going to suppress issues deeper. But I don't find that it hinders their healing. Um, yeah, I haven't found that to be the case. Not so connected. More
Right,
so, what would be more harmful is if they're not willing to tune into their body and just, I have to work, I have to go, I'm not willing to stop drinking, I'm just blah, blah, blah. That won't work so well.
right.
But
Well, yeah.
the medication doesn't so much hinder things in my
Wow,
experience,
that's
or
really
hinder their
encouraging.
healing on a subconscious level.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's encouraging for sure. I have a gal that called me, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, and um, she has been on steroids for over 30 years, routinely, regularly. And when she tries to come off of them, her body just shuts down completely, and her emotions go haywire, and she just she just doesn't know what to do. Like she doesn't know the next step, the next path to try.
Mm.
I might suggest she call you.
Yeah, and on that note, I mean, thank you. And I love helping people, and there are distance options that we can do. But I also want to give a shout out to the website so people can find people locally for in person if they want. One is netmindbody.com. There's a
Okay.
little practitioner finder tab on the top. The other one is qnrt.com. And
Okay.
there's less practitioners of QNRT doing it all over the world. There's way more NET. And if somebody wants to find somebody and they don't find it, just have them reach out to me and I'll do my best to find practitioners that aren't on the website but are trained in it.
So you said QNRT. Tell me a little bit about that. This is something I don't even think I've heard this
And
phrase
nobody
before.
has. Yeah,
Okay, yes.
quantum neural reset therapy. Basically, we are going in to find what part of the brain the emotion is stored in, which cranial nerves are involved, what age, what event, what feeling. And so then we do a reset, it's called, which is in essence, we don't have the research per se, but in essence, what that MRI was showing earlier, that's a reset per se. And so we might, we're checking the cranial nerves. So let's just say cranial nerve 8 and 11 come up. When we're resetting, they might be doing this, and I might be doing sound in a certain ear. So
Mm.
it's basically going, okay, I think of it like a Rolodex, like, okay, where is this stored in this and this? Okay, we're accessing that, and we're going to set it free by doing blank, blank, blank to
Mm.
basically set the nervous system free. And it often just takes 10 to 15 minutes. So I'll start with that. And the way I describe it, and this, I love it. A PEDS patient of mine once used this. And so I spun it a little bit, but I'm going to mostly use her words. I was newer to QNRT. I'd been doing NET a long time. And she came in and she experienced both. And I said, so what do you think? And, oh, I'm good. Yeah, I like it. Well, what do you think though of the difference? What would you say? How do you feel? What do you notice? And she goes, I like QNRT when I don't know what's bothering me. And I like NET when I know what is. I said, that's
Mm.
brilliant
Mm.
because QNRT, we can literally say, stand here. I'm going to check your brain. And their body will come up with the top priority or what's overflowing in the bucket. And so it is
Oh,
so cool because often it's not something that they have, if we would have talked about it, often it's not what would have come up. But then when I bring it up and say, how can you connect blank, blank, blank? They're like, oh my gosh, that's what's bothering me. I have been thinking about that the past few days, but I don't know. I didn't think it was that big of a deal.
right.
So we flush it out and then we put the cherry on top with NET because we
Mm.
can be more specific. So often it's things that they didn't even share with me. And I'm like, do you have an animal? Oh yeah. Okay, what in the last week has come up about Daisy, your dog? Well, we went to the vet and there was some inclusive lab results. Oh, and I'm losing sleep over it. Oh, you didn't tell me
Mm-hmm.
about that. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
here we go. So
Mm-hmm.
I love that it just honors the body where it's at that moment, and then we can clean up the pieces.
Mm-hmm. How similar is it to quantum field clearing? I mean, it has the word quantum in it, but it's different, right?
Familiar. I'm not familiar with that one. Tell me
Mhm.
about it.
Well, well, true, like actually trained practitioners of quantum field clearing are taught to, gosh, it's not intuit, but it's to connect on the quantum level and be
Okay.
able to see where energy flow is stuck or
Mhm.
accumulating or deficient and work in the quantum field directly to clear that I think without really knowing anything specific. So
Okay.
it's really an energy flow they're working directly with. And I've had the honor in the years I've been in practice to meet, observe, and work with quantum field healers who is I'm absolutely certain that they're the real thing because I could see before and after, right? I don't see I thought I wanted to be a quantum field healer. Like I thought that very early on because it was fascinating to me, but I don't see what they see or intuit
Mhm.
what they intuit. I'm not saying I can't, but I just don't.
Mhm.
I don't see it. Like I don't think that's my area of like my gift area in
Your zone of
with
genius. You have many others.
I've seen others where I'm absolutely sure they really weren't doing anything at all.
Wow.
And I base it on what I see clinically with people.
Uh-huh.
Um, yeah, it was like, was it the emperor's invisible clothes, right? Kind of idea. They really do, yeah. Um,
It's so powerful, the things that we think we know. And then it's like, but I can't deny that. And that's where I was because well, I was against muscle testing in school and thought, wow, that is woo. Show me the
yes.
research. And then I had the breakdown. Like I said, third year, I was desperate and broke. So I went to our free school therapist and told her flat out, listen, I'm not a fan of talk therapy, but I am desperate. I am struggling and I don't have the money. So don't take offense to that, but I'm motivated, but. And she said, well, lucky for you, I am just learning this technique called NET. I was like, I'm a willing participant. What do you got? And so I, being me at the time, and I wouldn't say I thought I was so smart, but I had to have 1 + 1 = 2. My 1 + 1 had to equal my 2.
Right.
And so here she is, not pushing my arm, but my arm is weak or strong. And I was convinced because she's new, she's pushing too hard and this is bogus. But I'm going through the motions, whatever. And then something came up about 5 years old and my dad. And I don't remember if it was unloved or failure or something. And I thought, no, my dad left later, like I was 7 or so. And and so then I was so intrigued, and I must have felt better, but I was so intrigued that I paid money I didn't have, and I went to this training practitioner by school. Sure enough, 5 years old came up again. And I thought, what is going on? And dad. And so I went home and my dad and I were emailing about something else. And I told him mostly the truth. I said, I'm working on myself this summer. I didn't say I'm working on my daddy issues, but I said, I'm working on myself this summer. And I am curious what was going on between you, mom, or our household at 5. That was the first time he left. I had no conscious memory
Oh,
of that. None. Like I would have bet every amount of money I've ever made that he left later.
wow.
My brain exploded. My 1 + 1 changed. And so I got out of my own way and said, even when you think you are convinced that you know these things, your body knows more.
Hmm.
And so I have learned over the years when I got stuck with muscle testing, or, well, gosh, this person is saying that that age doesn't match up with that feeling. And then I'd like think, oh, I did it wrong. Or I have learned to trust the body, and it has
Hmm.
never lied or deceived me or been wrong. And
Hmm.
so I think once we get on that paradigm, so props to you, even though you felt like you didn't have that gift or was like, whoa, what's happening? Like you didn't get in your own way or the way of the patient's healing.
Right. Right. Well, I learned the hard way. I wasn't always like that, right? There
Yes,
are
that's how we
plenty of
learn.
it is plenty of times people would come to me and say, I think this helped me. And I'd say, yeah, like, right, whatever. I don't see how that could possibly be. But that was early, as an early
Yes.
doctor. And I learned that
Yep.
we're so much, well, I believe that there's way more to our existence that is not physical and that we cannot see than the tip of the
Yes.
iceberg that we make up as physical beings. I've learned that.
Agree.
And, it's, we get stuck in our humanness and we think that all there is what we can touch and feel and see and hear. And I think this net of energy and molecular flow and atoms and thoughts and everything, emotion that connects us as a species. Did you
Yes.
ever watch that movie Avatar with,
Yeah.
with the tree
Yeah.
connected? It
I don't
was
remember much about it, but yes, I saw it.
so the tree of life,
Mhm.
but it was the energetic component to it was fascinating to me because it put in a place I could see visually what I've always known or believed to be the connection between the living, everything that's living, not only on our
Yes.
planet, but in the universe, right? I'm one
Yep.
of those. But I think it's all connected, which is why things can
I
be
agree.
like, you know, instantaneous, instantaneous change. And the way the bamboo can, you take a baby bamboo from its mom and take it across the world, and you do something that affects the mother bamboo, but a half a world away, you can measure a response in the baby. Like it's a flow of energy to me is just fascinating and amazing. I
And
cannot
that,
believe an hour has gone by
oh,
already.
has it?
I
Oh
can't
man.
believe this. Like I have
I have
so enjoyed this.
Me
Tell me,
too.
you have more to say.
I have one more thing about generational trauma. And once again, big T, little t, doesn't matter. When we work on ourselves, the research that I have learned, we can help 7 generations before and after us. So I always encourage people like, yeah, we can be frustrated with family, friends, politics, etc., but the more we work on ourselves, the better everything around us is, not only our outlook, but literally changing things for the future. And if people have children or grandchildren, like that's all the more motivation to work on themselves because it changes things for everyone involved, even if they're not doing their work. So
It is
it's
a
pretty powerful.
powerful concept. And I just spent this past weekend with Cherokee elders, and a Cherokee belief, a way of life, a philosophy that rules a lot of what we do in each day is this idea that the 7 generations that came before you and the 7 generations to come are actually who we serve. Yes, we serve people right here and right now, but this concept of time and the division of time is very blurred once you start stepping into Native American belief. And
Mhm.
7 generations ago could be like yesterday, and the 7th generation to come could be like tomorrow. It's that non-separated, right? In the
Yes.
belief system. And oh wow, we're gonna have to do another hour at some point because I have a
I
bazillion
know. We need
line
happy hour.
talk to you about. We do need a happy hour. Well,
Um,
what words would you leave? What message would
oh,
you impart to our audience who's listening to us today?
the thing that comes to mind, one of my favorite taglines is "You are worth it." And I think whether it's a mom who feels like she has to care for everyone else and she comes last, like, no, you are worth it. And the greater you are and the greater capacity of health that you have, the greater you are to everyone around you. So it's a win-win. It's not selfish. So yes, be open to loving on yourself, forgiving yourself, accepting yourself, working on yourself, and everyone around you will benefit.
What a really heartwarming way to end today. Thank you so much for being
Thank
here.
you.
And y'all, there'll be links in the show notes. And I'm not sure what our next show is about. We'll see what happens in the universe. Thank you for being here, Dr. Eichens.
Thank
And you all
you.
have a wonderful couple of weeks. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for joining me today. For those of you who have written in, emailed, and are interested in my books and other offerings, I wrote The Unvaccinated Child as a resource guide for parents and caregivers to navigate childhood illnesses in a natural and healthy way. And while the intended group was the unvaccinated, it turns out it's an important resource for the vaccinated kids as well, since vaccines do not necessarily prevent illness. Smoke Rings is another book I wrote, and that's to help smokers support their health, regardless if they plan to quit or not. So, for people who smoke, love a smoker, used to smoke, continue to smoke, this book helps you be your healthiest version. And when I say it is judgment free, it is absolutely judgment free. You're free to make the choices you make. I'd just like you to find better health while you make those choices. My most recent book, Homeopathy, A Foundational Approach, is really great for someone, whether they're a complete beginner or they've already been practicing homeopathy. It starts at the beginning and it guides the readers through the basics and on into first aid and acute practice so you can start using homeopathy right away. That's the most important thing to me, is to get folks using homeopathy in their everyday life. My workshops and courses can be found at either ecampnd.com or longshadowsranch.net. Have a great week. Again, thanks for joining me and thanks for your support.